Good afternoon and welcome everyone to this council meeting for Monday, July 21st. I'm going to call the meeting to order and invite everyone to stand as you're able to join us in singing O Canada. Just acknowledge that for the first time, I believe, we have a picture of King Charles the at the flags there. So our land acknowledgement, I'm going to ask Councillor Greenfield to give us our land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good afternoon, everyone. Yes, we'd like to begin our meeting. We would like to begin by acknowledging with respect that we're meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nation and the Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation. We also recognize the Métis, whose ancestors shared these lands and these waters. We extend our gratitude to all Anishinaabe and Métis peoples and their descendants, past, present, and future, who continue to care for and inhabit these lands and tend these waters.
Thank you, Councillor. Now I'll just ask you to join me in a moment of silent reflection on our business today. Thank you. I note that Councillor Forder is absent, but we do have quorum, and I'm wondering if there's any declaration of pecuniary interest. Don't see any, so if it does occur to you, please bring it forward at that time. Announcements. Don't everybody start at once. Let's go with Deputy Mayor Keaveney.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Good afternoon, everyone. And with your indulgence, there are a few announcements today. I want to start by taking a moment, if I may, on behalf of Council, and I know you'll want to speak to it as well, Your Worship, but to acknowledge Nisa Cornforth and her team for the fantastic event this past Friday morning. The Freedom of the City was just a memorable, beautiful occasion, and I know you really poured your heart and soul into it, Nisa. So thank you from all of us. Coming up August 1st weekend, which will be upon us before we know it, from the 1st until the 3rd, is the 4th annual Summerfest event. And that, of course, is mostly known for the poutine off. So I hope everyone can get out to all of our restaurants and sample some poutine. There will be Friday night a movie under the stars, The Goonies. So bring your lawn chairs. There will be a concession in the Apple, so you'll be able to get some treats. Come and enjoy that. There will be live music all day Saturday and Sunday from 10 until 4. I hope I've got that time right. And there'll be street vendors in the market square. And as well, there will be an opportunity to dance in the street anytime anybody feels like it. Just get up and enjoy the music and have a great time at Summerfest. August the 2nd at 10 a.m. out at the historic Leith Church, there will be a Leith Country Market. So that's a great time to get out and explore the cemetery there at Leith and to enjoy the market and to support our friends out in Sydenham. There was a terrific after five last week at the SCP Center, the former Amarok building, and it was really exciting to see the space that has been renovated in the office area of the old Amarok, and that is going to be a co-working space opening up in September. So I would encourage anyone who's listening who might be interested in that type of space to get in touch with our small and medium business liaison, Jessica Kenyon, here at the municipality. And next is the Loon Call fundraiser on August the 9th at the Farmers Market. There's going to be a table, and this is an opportunity to support our food bank. And I think you've heard me speak before that our food bank is in need. And if anyone could drop off a non-perishable food item, or if you wanted to make a monetary item, those donations will all go directly to the food bank and will be matched by Loon Call up to $25,000. So come out and support that if you can. And lastly, and this will get your taste buds, the breakfast at Riverside. The next one will be August the 10th from 9 a.m. until 1. And I tell you, it's the best breakfast anywhere for $15 and a great opportunity to support the community hall. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Greenfield.
Thanks, Mayor Kentner. It's a few weeks off, but I want to refer to the Meaford and St. Vincent Agricultural Society Fall Fair. First of all, I want to talk about the display that the Fair Board has put out on Station Hill as you're going outside out of town. It's really neat. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to drive by with care, of course, and take a look at the display that the Fair Board has put up there. Speaking of the fair, August 30th, maybe a little bit earlier, a day or two earlier this year, but of course it depends on when the Labor Day weekend falls. Saturday, August 30th at the fairgrounds, of course. I think it's the 165th Fall Fair.
168th.
Maybe wrong in my number, but
168th, I believe.
oh, okay. I missed a few.
Time flies by.
But it's always a great show. There'll be of course, the cattle displays, the calf show, saddle horse show, and displays in the curling club. So just a reminder that it is coming up, and we're hoping for great weather on that day. Thank you.
I didn't see your hand go up, Councillor Urick. You don't have anything for us today?
Fortunately, Deputy Mayor already covered it off for me. Thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing else from our side of the horseshoe, Acting CAO Amy Can, do you have anything for us?
Thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing to add today.
Okay, well then I'm going to move on to, I have something here. Alexa Campbell, owner of Penny Lane Organics, is celebrating her 10th year in business in our municipality. Born and raised in Meaford, Penny Lane products are handmade in small batches to ensure high quality and freshness. Sourced luxurious organic ingredients that are all natural and rich in vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. Penny Lane products and ingredients are also cruelty-free, vegan and vegetarian, gluten-free, and sustainable and socially conscious. Penny Lane Organics offers natural skin care, personal care, baby care, pet care, aromatherapy, and much more. So, handmade in Meaford, Ontario, Canada with love. I want to congratulate Amy, and I'm going to come down, sorry, Alexa, and I'm going to come down and we have a presentation to make to her. Businesses where they have been such, not the nicest year. We started with Okay, we'll move on to the public participation part of our meeting today. Members of the public are encouraged to provide council with their comments and questions. Presentations must be prearranged with legislative services before the agenda is released and are limited to 10 minutes. If a member of the public wishes to make a public deputation on items on the council agenda or to ask a public question of council, they may do so either in person at the council chambers or remotely via Zoom. Members of the public wishing to make a deputation or to ask a public question must register in advance with legislative services by 10 in the morning of the day of the meeting. And you can do that by contacting clerk@meaford.ca or calling 519-538-1060, extension 1100. An email with access information will be sent to those who register for remote participation. Deputations are limited to 5 minutes and public questions to 2 minutes. And a reminder, the public can watch this meeting live via the Municipality of Meaford's YouTube channel, www.meaford.ca/YouTube. We have no presentations today, but we do have a deputation on agenda item 10B, which is a proposed telecommunications facility at 065310 on the Fourth Side Road. And I'm going to call Sarah Duncan, who is with us virtually. Can you hear us, Sarah?
Yes, I can, Mayor. Can you hear me?
We can. Please speak up, though, okay?
I will. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Sarah Duncan, and I work for Forbes Brothers Ltd. We've been retained by Explore Inc. to help expand their network in this area of Ontario. And our role is to take care of the land acquisition and municipal consultation process. As you mentioned, the site's located at 065310 Fourth Side Road in Meaford. It will be a 45-meter tower with a 3-meter by 3-meter footprint. Transport Canada has reviewed the tower location and aeronautical lighting is not required. Consultation was conducted through February to April of this year, with mail outs being sent to property owners, as well as a notice in the Meaford Independent. We received no comments or concerns, and as it's stated in the report from the planning department, we followed the guidelines set out by Innovation, Science, and Economic Development. All of that criteria was followed and met. So basically, we're here today, obviously, to support the report from the planning department to council or committee of the whole, looking for issuance of a letter of concurrence so that this tower can be built to expand services and capacity in the municipality of Meaford. And that's all I have. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council? There don't appear to be any, so thank you very much, Sarah. Appreciate your information.
Thank you.
Moving on to council inquiries. Do we have any council inquiries today? Councillor Uhrig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'm not sure this is the right place to bring it up, and I will turn to our acting clerk to determine that. Page 187 on the agenda was there. There was a letter. It wasn't in correspondence, so it ended up being put on there. And I was just about the Savvy Fest request about potential of having their event happen despite the fact that there are some obstacles. And I just didn't know whether that kind of where that is in the process, whether that's being taken care of by staff. So I just wanted to make sure I got that on the table in place.
Thank you, through your worship, and to Councillor Uhrig. I think when we reach item or section 13, we can speak to that item should council wish, and staff can provide some comments back, and there could be a discussion at that time if that's
Perfect.
suitable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And at that time, we can get a motion on the table to vote on the issue. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question to our interim director, Mr. Freeze. Quite a while ago, council was basically informed that the dredging of the harbor would commence somewhere around July the 16th, and that the window of operations, there is a restricted window that can go to September the 30th. And I just happened to be down there at the harbor this morning, and I don't see any activity with the barges from the contractor that likely would be used. So I'm just asking Mr. Freeze if we could have an update on the process and how we're making out if we're going to be doing dredging this year.
Hey, you through you, Mr. Mayor. The update on the harbor dredging is we have finally got some of the permits back to do the project. It has been identified that the monies that we have in budget's not going to substantially cover the dredge project off. So we'll be bringing this back for the 2026 budget timeframe to get the project in for the 2026 this spring.
Or Lisa, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I have a few inquiries, if I may, mostly related to the fact that we won't be meeting again until September the 8th. So recognizing that it's quite a few weeks between now and then, I thought if everyone was in agreement, we might take this opportunity to inquire for some updates on a few of the reports and so on that have been outstanding. So firstly, I wanted to ask about the STA bylaw report, and I wondered if someone could provide us an update on where that might be, and is curious to know how many complaints we've been receiving. We heard last year about a number, but I'm just curious to know how many complaints have been registered this year so far. That's the first one.
Thank you, and through you, Your Worship, to the Deputy Mayor. This is a great question. We have been working with the CAO Everett on this matter. Apologies, I can't answer the question of how many complaints we've received to date this year, but certainly I can look into that with bylaw for council. So we have been speaking with CAO Everett, as I've said, on the status of the short-term rental accommodation piece, and I'd be happy to bring an information report, a status report back to council with CAO Everett and the rest of staff to maybe give council a briefing on that status.
And in the same vein, if I may, Your Worship, I'm wondering about the splash pad, which was in our budget this year, and I'm curious to know if that project is going to get underway this summer.
Through Your Worship. I don't have the information right now, but I will find out where that project sits at.
Thank you. And Your Worship, if I may, I also wanted to ask about Bayshore Road and Leith, and do we have hydro tied down? Do we know when they're coming? And is there any potential of getting some of the weeds and so on cleaned up for the folks out there?
Through Your Worship, Hydro has actually been on site, and I've got the holes drilled out for the relocation of the poles. So that's good news. Transportation Services were down there last week and got all the weeds all cut up. We have also had communications with the Walker Group identifying when Hydro is anticipated to be completed, and they've reassured us that whenever that is completed, they'll come to the project and get it completed because they wish to get out of there as well.
Thank you, Jeff, for that. And Your Worship, may I follow up on the question of dredging, understanding that the quote is above the monies that were allocated in the budget, but I understood there were also some monies in reserve, and understanding the urgency of getting this work done. Is there any way to address this in 2025 to either, look into reserves, or can we talk about this today and make a decision as to whether or not we can find the funds to go forward and get the harbor dredged? Because I understand we're, losing some boats, and we've got some boats that can't get in the water and this sort of thing.
Yep, through Your Worship. We can definitely look at different alternatives for sure. I think the best move forward for us right now is to come up with a better game plan, scope of work for the project. There was just some missing points for this year, and I think we would like to take the time to come together with a good scope of work and to have the project start as early as we can next year.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, your worship, through you to, again, to Mr. Freeze. I think a little bit of good news, which is always welcome. The resurfacing work on 3 different sections of the 11th line in the former St. Vincent has commenced. A lot of ditching has been done. And I understand the completion date is about the middle of August, which is not that far away. Jeff, are there, I think there may have been one culvert replaced on that road. I'm not sure, but is there more culvert work to do on, as I say, those 3 sections?
Yeah, through your worship. Yes, there was 2 culverts that were indicated through the scope of the project. The other one should be done this week, and then pulverizing, reshaping, and then the final coat of surface treatment. There's also roadside safety devices that will be replaced on the furthest hill south. And then that will have the job completed.
Councillor Bartley.
Thank you, Mayor Kentner, and Jeff, I'm sorry we're picking on you today. I'm going to go back to the dredging. Twice during budget deliberations last year, I brought it up and was assured there was enough money for it. I was very skeptical. And there's money available to add to it. There was all kinds of money and I would have done that. Having said that, you're saying there's certain licenses need to be done. We have them, you said. I just want to go back to doing it in 2025 somehow. Is it at all possible? Because there is money available. I know there's money available. And you can't start in the spring because of spawning issues and whatnot. You'd have to wait till at least July and September. So if there's any way we can go forward, would you see if you could let us know and do it ASAP? Because I would bring a motion forward and I would find the money. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, through your worship. Yes, we can look at the alternatives and the complete scope of work with a complete budget number and bring that back to council. Unfortunately, at this time, with the break coming into effect and not coming back to September, it may just, our time frame is really dwindling this summer, but we can provide that information.
I guess we could always call a special meeting of council. I'm certainly open to that. Does that help?
Okay. Yeah.
Councillor Bartley?
Thank you, Mayor Kettner. And or we could do something today with a motion to make the money available. And if it can happen with all the i's dotted and the t's crossed, then you wouldn't have to come back to council if we did approval and opened up some reserves. It's a thought.
I'm going to ask, can we visit that when we come to motions on the agenda?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think maybe we would want to talk with staff to see if that makes sense and how we could expedite that. But I think your idea to have a special meeting if there's more information that staff need direction on might be a good approach. When we reach the motion section, we could also have a notice of motion and waive the procedure bylaw to have it considered right now if we have enough information on what staff would need direction on.
We have a fairly long agenda today, and we'll probably take a break at some point, during which time staff could get your heads together and consider, what your best direction is. But either way, I certainly support the idea. We have known for 2 years that we needed to dredge the harbor, and I thought took all the necessary measures on our side to make it happen. So. Anything, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, sorry, one more. Just again, recognizing we have the summer ahead of us because people are going to be curious about the cemetery and the fountains at the cemetery. And we've been asking about this for many, many months. So I'm just curious if there's an update and if we're going to get these fountains repaired this summer.
Through your worship. Yeah, so just a little background information on this. This project went out twice on bids and tenders. No bids were received both times. The team went out and sourced a contractor. We finally got some quoting prices. Unfortunately, it is over the estimated budget amount, so we'll have to bring an award report to council. And because we didn't receive this information soon enough to get it into this council meeting, it'll have to come back in September. We have followed up with the contractor in order to hold a time frame in the September months. It's going into their busier season, but they assured that it would be able to be still completed.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, then may I suggest that we deal with that during motions as well, and maybe we can talk about pulling funds from a reserve to get that done before September.
Do we know, may I ask, do we know, how, what the number was from the contractor? Because I think we had a $15,000 budget, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the quote was around 65.
Sorry?
The quote was around 65K for both.
Okay, thank you. If there are no more questions, I'll move on to our consent agenda, but I'm not sure that, is there any more questions? All right, on the consent agenda, we have a number of items, and I'm just going to mention what they are and then ask if any of these you would like to pull. The first one is the Community Improvement Plan application for 90 Sykes Street. The second is the award for provision of engineering services for structure rehabilitation of bridges 35 and 46. The third is removal of an H4 holding symbol at 397585, the 10th concession. And the fourth is operations speed signage in Bogner. Any of these you wish to pull, or can we, Deputy Mayor?
Deep leisure, Your Worship.
Okay. If there are any others you want to consider separately? If not, I think what I should do here is read the recommendations and then the two, and I guess get them moved onto the floor, and then we can vote on them. So the first one, the recommendation is that the municipality of Meaford, 1, approve a grant in the amount of $5,198 at 90 Sykes Street North in accordance with the Community Improvement Plan. And 2, authorize the treasurer to transfer $5,198 from the Community Improvement Plan reserve to fund this award. The second item is that Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve, 1, authorize the treasurer to transfer $7,380 from the Bridge Reserve Fund and $10,000 from the Road Reserve Fund to fund the 2025 costs for the engineering component of structure rehabilitation of bridges 35 and 46. And 2, approve the award of proposal to provision of engineering services for structure rehabilitation to Pearson Engineering Limited for $301,219.78, including provisional items and the municipality's non-refundable allocation of HST. And 3, authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the necessary agreement. I should have called for a mover and seconder for each of these. How am I going to solve that problem?
Thank you, Your Worship. Because it is consent agenda, if we have one mover and seconder for all of those 3 items, we can
Perfect.
proceed.
Thank you. And the third item is the recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 2025-42, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 60/2009 to remove a holding provision, H4, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. So a mover and seconder for these 3 motions, moved by Councillor Uhrig, seconded by Councillor Bell. All in favor? And those are all carried. Item D, the recommendation is that Council of the Municipality of Meaford, 1, direct staff to purchase new speed signage to be installed in Bognor in 2025, and 2, authorize the treasurer to transfer up to $6,500 from the roads reserve to fund this new project. A mover and a seconder for this, moved by by Deputy Mayor Keaveney and seconded by Councillor Bartley. Discussion on this item, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. And my question was only involving the timeline. I know the first recommendation is that these signs are to be installed in 2025, but again, recognizing it is the summer season, which is the busiest traffic-wise, and when kids, of course, are out of school and going back and forth to the park. So I just wondered how quickly we might be able to access these signs and have them installed.
Through your worship. We'll, as soon as we get the go-ahead, we'll put an order in for the signs. The last signs we ordered came in within a couple, 3 weeks. And then we'll communicate with the county. We're basically just the money holder. The county will do all the work. So I'll get in contact with the county and get things arranged.
I'm seeing no other questions. Are you ready to vote on this? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Now moving on to items for consideration. The first is the recommendation is that Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve heritage permit 5/2025 Georgian Bay Harbor Limited, 23 and 37 Trowbridge Street East, subject to the following conditions. 1, that a peer review of the submitted cultural heritage the Cultural Heritage Impact Statement, or a CHIS, be undertaken by the municipality at the owner's expense. 2, that the findings of the peer review and any revised submission material be taken to the Heritage Advisory Committee for their consideration. 3, that all recommendations and mitigation measures of the peer review be implemented to the satisfaction of the municipality through the heritage permit, building permit, or site plan approval as appropriate. 4, that the site plan approval for developments of the lands implement the requirements of the CHIS and peer review recommendations, including any internal / on-site review recommendations, any off-site improvements that are warranted to mitigate the impact of the development on the Heritage District. This may include, but not be limited to, design and location of lighting, improvements to Berry Street as a public trail and viewshed, inclusion of public art opportunities to create visual interest on blank walls and commemorate the location within the Heritage District, and enhanced landscaping to soften the massing of the building. And 5, that knowing that the site plan approval and Grey Sauble Conservation Authority permit are required to deal appropriately with all flood hazard and geotechnical matters, that any design change necessitated by the site plan approval be brought back to council for approval through a revised heritage permit. A mover and a seconder to get this on the floor. Deputy Mayor Keaveney and Councillor Urick. And I believe we're going to have a presentation at this point, and I'm going to invite Amy Can to and Denise to the podium and to give us some background here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we thought we would go through some of the conditions and things in a little bit more detail so they can be discussed a little bit more easily since it's such a long list, if that's helpful. We're going to where I just tell someone to change the slide. Thank you, Amy. So the presentation outline is we're just going to do a quick background of where we are in the process, and we're going to go through a review of the recommended conditions, and then just an extra little piece about site plan approval, some details that were in the report, and then we can get through into some questions if they aren't covered already. So, As you know, the heritage permit was received. In the report, it talks about the information being received and some updates. Just because something comes in, it doesn't mean it's not changed before it gets out there for the public to see. So some new information was received and it was deemed complete, and a notice of receipt was issued on June 5th, I believe. The Heritage Advisory Committee reviewed the application on their June 11th meeting and made their recommendations, which council received on July 7th, 2025. Then council requested some more information for the next meeting, knowing that there was still time to have some more information before a decision needs to be made. You'll note that we created a little bit more of a firm timeline around, we've done a little extra ground truthing, so to speak, on the dates. And unlike zoning, for example, on a heritage permit, the date of the clock ticking is when the notice of receipt is issued. So the notice of receipt was issued on June 5th, which then takes us into the end of July, which the addendum report points out. It still means that council would need to make a decision at this meeting, just so that council is aware of the timeline. As you know, the province has become a lot more directive about us meeting these timelines. They really want us to not delay on the process and ensure that we can get things decided within a reasonable timeframe. The Ontario Heritage Act lays out those timelines in order to make sure projects can move forward in a timely manner. The Act, though, does not say how long we have to look at something before we deem it complete and issue that notice of receipt. And all the information we've been given to date through our legal opinion and through others says that that has to be quick. It's not something we can just kind of hold on to for several months, but it needs to be done fairly quickly. So we did provide that and sent it out. Just going to go to the next slide. So the first condition that we've put on the recommended conditions list, condition number 1, is that a peer review of the submitted cultural heritage impact statement, or CHIS, be undertaken by the municipality at the owner's expense. So we just wanted to give a little bit more about what that would mean. So we would, we have used the same consultant on a number of these for previous peer reviews. We could reach out to that consultant if council is good with that. I believe it was MHBC or Dan Curry. And Amy's like, I've heard of that person. Yes, sure. We've used Dan Curry before, and it's been a while, but we have had some peer reviews of cultural impact statements done. And then that peer review, the objective would be to confirm that the reviewer agrees that the conclusions of the peer review or the original CHIS were valid, that they take into consideration the heritage conservation district and the plan around the district to ensure there's no significant impact. So in this one, we wanted to make sure there was a feedback loop around to the Heritage Advisory Committee, or HAC. So the condition number 2 is that the findings of the peer review and any revised submission material that could be submitted as part of this be taken back to the Heritage Advisory Committee for their consideration. That objective ensures that they're still engaged and the role of the HAC is respected. When there is a heritage impact or heritage advisory committee, council is required to consult with them in the Act. And that makes sure that they stay involved. Condition number 3, all recommendations and mitigation measures of the peer review be implemented to the satisfaction of the municipality through the heritage permit, building permit, or site plan approval as appropriate. So different things could happen at any of those stages. The heritage permit could have stipulations, the final permit, the building permit could have stipulations, and the site plan approval can have stipulations, noting that the site plan agreement can have quite a few stipulations, and that is registered on title to the lands. So condition number 4, that the site plan approval for the development of the lands implement the requirements of the CHIS and peer review recommendations, including any internal on-site and external off-site improvements that are warranted to mitigate the impact of the development on the district. So in partnership with the commenting agencies, we've built a lot of trust and collaboration with those agencies. An example is the Grey Sauble Conservation Authority. And we work to integrate those expectations and policy requirements where possible to ensure applicants aren't surprised. So we want to make sure that they're aware of those kinds of requirements of all these other agencies as well as ourselves. So the applicant submitted their complete application approval, and that approval is a technical exercise. So that exercise happens among the experts, like mostly engineers, among others, and the external agencies, and that could include, in some cases, the county. In this case, it definitely includes the Conservation Authority. It often includes utilities as well to make sure that their needs are respected when it comes to some of the infrastructure that's being developed or being attached to within the development. As you know, council was provided a report in 2022 about Bill 185. And in Bill 185, site plan approval was no longer under the purview of council. So council can't make decisions on site plan approval anymore. And council was required to designate somebody else. So name another individual or group to say who would then make those approvals on behalf of the municipality. So it's a little bit different than delegating the approval down, since council no longer has that authority. And in that report, through that process, council decided to choose the Director of Development Services as the designate to make those decisions for site plan approval. So when we get to the end of the process and all of the agencies, staff, and everybody are satisfied with a project, then the director would be able to sign off on the project and give site plan approval. Next slide. So this is the next, a little bit of the more detail that went with condition 4, as you'll note. This may include, so recommended under condition 4, site plan approval matters may or may not be limited to, so not be limited to design and location of lighting, improvements to Berry Street as a public trail and view shed, inclusion of public art opportunities, to create visual interest on blank walls and commemorate the location within the Heritage District, enhance landscaping to soften the massing of the building. So we heard lots of feedback at the last meeting on July 7th, and we talked about some of the landscaping and some of the other things related to Berry Street and the trail behind. So the purpose of this would to ensure that the integrity of the Heritage District is maintained through that good urban design and good site design. Thank you, Amy. So condition number 5, and that knowing that the site plan approval and Grey Sauble Conservation Authority permit are required to deal appropriately with all flood hazard and geotechnical matters, that any design change necessitated by the site plan approval be brought back to council for approval through a revised heritage permit. So as you'll probably remember, on the last report on July 7th, there was a condition that it be substantial, so the development would be substantially in accordance with the site plan from September last year. It's a similar condition to this, but this one's more detailed. So it's doing generally the same thing, which is if there's any substantial changes required because of this other technical aspects. So if the underground parking matters or any flood related things or geotechnical matters change the design of the building at all, and it's going to impact their heritage permit, so it's not the same design anymore, then it would come back through the process. So it would go back to the Heritage Advisory Committee and to council through a revised heritage permit. So lastly, I wanted to just point out a couple of things about site plan approval that were in that addendum report. So as you know, an application was submitted by the proponent and it's under review. Site plan approval is a internal process, as I've mentioned, and that includes multiple agencies. So any agencies that are related to the application. So in this case, the Grey Sauble is related to this application, but say the county is not because it's not on a county road. They are very involved when it is on a county road and they are part of the site plan approval process. So we've been going through that process together. They're reviewing, Grey Sauble's reviewing all of the submissions at the same time as we are. Implementation of site engineering requirements of the municipality and the GSEA are required as part of site plan approval. So in our previous process, or the last review, so we were on review submission number 2, for example, the Conservation Authority has already weighed in on their requirements and recommendations for the site plan agreement and making sure that everything's covered that they would need to issue a permit. Site plan agreement is between the property owner and the municipality, and that would happen at the end of the process when everyone's satisfied who's been reviewing that all the matters have been addressed. And I think that's the end. So we left a little bit of time for questions, and if we can go back through the presentation, if you want to pick on any of the specific conditions and flesh those out a little bit, we're happy to do that.
So council, questions on the report? Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Denise. Yeah, there was a lot of mention in there of Grey Sauble Conservation Authority. So I just thought I would add that I did speak with CAO Lantier on Friday because there was a lot of questions about the status of that. And he did say that, yes, it was in process and hopes to be done soon, but it's obviously not quite completed yet. He did indicate that, again, this being heritage and not actually zoning, this is a different kind of bailiwick. It's not really going to be, for lack of a better term, the magic bullet that people are hoping that's going to kind of negate this. I did want to get on the record something as well, though, that because we did receive through council an email from Imagine Meaford because there was concern, because originally when GSEA did look at this, they did note that there were concerns about the two zone policy area with the underground parking. So they made it adamantly clear that yes, there were concerns. And I did have a conversation with Denise prior to the meeting just to ascertain, because what they were asking was the package gets submitted, and when the developer appealed the decision at that time, all that information went to go into the appeal process. That may not have been on the record that's on the Meaford website as having been included, but I just want to confirm to Imagine Meaford and anybody that's listening that yes, GSEA's concerns were part of the package that were part of the appeal process. So the OLT was aware and made a decision based on the knowledge that they were aware of it. So again, it takes it out of our hands to a great degree, no matter how we feel about this, but just want to make sure that they are aware that that did happen. So thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. 2 questions, I guess. First of all, Amy and Denise, thank you very much for this report. I can see that you put a lot of time and thought into preparing these recommendations, and it does address a lot of what we spoke about at our last meeting. So firstly, I'd like to propose an amendment, and perhaps to number 2, where it suggests the findings of the peer reviewer and any revised submission material be taken to the Heritage Advisory Committee. I'd like that to happen in person if possible, if that individual could come to the Heritage Advisory Committee. And I'd also like that person to come to council so that we can have opportunity to receive clarity if need be, to ask questions of this individual, because this one is really important. There's a lot of eyes on this one and we want to make sure we get this right. So I'd like to have opportunity to have that expert here in the room with us. So I would put that amendment on the floor and would hope that council would support that one. Do you want to deal with that first before I come back with my second question?
Seconded by Councillor
right.
Greenfield. Thank you. Should we discuss and deal with this right now? I think we had better. Any questions or suggestions, Councillor Bartley?
Thank you, Mayor Kentner, and I do apologize. I'm confused immensely. we have a timeline for this that has to be done and or it's done. We're going back to it for a peer review. Does that change the timeline that this has? Or we still have 2 weeks to do this or 1 week to do this? I'm confused on that.
Thanks to you, through you, Mr. Mayor. So to the questions, so Councillor Bartley's question, it's a great question. So the way that this decision has been structured, we were recommending that this be a conditional of the approval. So you'd still be making a decision to issue approval subject to a satisfactory peer review. So it doesn't change the timeline. You would still be making a decision today, even though it has those conditions attached. So it meets the timeline.
Councillor Greenfield, do you have a question? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So just to reiterate, Denise, thank you for that. We're going to say as long as the peer review comes out fine, we're okay with it. We're given permission for that. Like, I'm still confused and concerned. Has Grace Sobel give their blessing to this? Or is it still up in the air? Like, would that not change the timeline when we can do this?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So Grace Sobel's process is,
Just get back, a little back from it.
okay. So Grace Sobel's process is completely separate because the site plan portion, so the site plan review is not part of the heritage permit. So the heritage permit has its timeline and the site plan approval process has a separate timeline. And no, the first question was, have they given their blessing? And the answer is no, they're still going through the review just like we are for the site plan approval. And there's multiple submissions that we've looked at already.
Thanks for that clarification. That's very helpful. Councillor Greenfield.
Thanks, Your Worship. I do have a question, but before I ask the question, I do want to make a comment. During the past couple of weeks, doesn't matter if somebody approached me at the independent grocery store or the ceremony at Meaford Hall or the fish fry at the harbor or the open house up at the range on Saturday. People came to me and said emphatically, this can't happen. Don't let this happen. We don't want this to happen. I am certainly not against development, and I'm not against some sort of development on this property. I guess to maybe personally answer those who have approached me, I'll ask through you to Denise or to Ms. Can council simply say no to this development? And if we do, what kind of legal situation do we put ourselves into? That would be my question.
So through you, Mr. Chair, what you can make a decision on today is about the heritage permit. So council can't make a decision about the site plan approval. That is with staff because that was how council structured site plan approval and as required by the province. So council does have the decision to make about the heritage permit and whether they're interested in issuing it with and the options are issuing the permit. I'll just say this again, just in case it's unclear. So you have 90 days to issue the permit, issue a notice that you're refusing to issue it, or the permit applied for with terms and conditions attached. And I think that to Councillor Bartley's question. So you can add terms and conditions. So it has to be with one of those three items. So it's on the heritage permit that you'd be making a decision today.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Denise, for that. Your report does mention this peer review, which gives us some hope. I think maybe the site plan agreement, and if you read through our official plan, I know there are a couple of statements, in that, it's, section E1.1.1 on page 230, mentions matters relating to exterior design, including the character, scale, appearance, and design features of buildings. I found that, very interesting, statement, and, also in our plan on, under the rule of the settlement area, page 109, B 2.5.4, ensuring the preservation and enhancement of the natural and historic features that exist in each settlement. So I'm hoping there's still some hope to make some major changes when it comes to the final design of this building.
Councillor Uri?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and piggybacking on Councillor Greenfield's. You asked a question, I don't think Denise, you answered the last part of it, which was, he said the legal ramifications that come about from that. Because in terms of your three options, if we were to literally say no, I presume that triggers an appeal, their ability to appeal to the OLT. And that, play that game over again, and that goes for whatever period of time that takes. Now, having said that as well, so if they do that and they appeal and it goes to the OLT, and the OLT finds in favor of them proceeding, once again, that's going to supersede anything that we then can do at this council. So even beyond the second option of with terms and conditions that we could try and do with a peer review, this puts us in a really difficult spot to say no, but then that gives them the ability to say yes. Sorry, you lose.
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You're looking at me, so I'm speaking up. I think Amy was also raising her hand, probably just finished this off because I hadn't answered this part. So if the two of the three options, two of them are appealable. So if you just issue the permit right out with no conditions, then obviously there's no appeal potential on this, because there's no third-party appeals or any other agency can appeal this. But if the terms and conditions are deemed to be too onerous or the applicant doesn't agree with those terms and conditions, they could appeal. They could also appeal a refusal of the permit and it would go to the OLT. I just want to give some framework though. When things go to the OLT, we always work with the applicant to try to work through issues that are outstanding. I don't want council to think, or the public who are listening, that the appeal happens and then we just show up at a hearing and the OLT just makes decisions. There is so much work that we do to get to the time when the appeal hearing event is to happen, to try to bring council a settlement or some kind of resolution prior to a hearing. And I don't know the last time we haven't done that. But even on this previous one, we provided a settlement for council to review to see if you were okay with it, which looked at nothing to do with the underground parking, but just looked at the uses of the official plan amendment and the zoning amendment at that time. Are you okay with the apartment building, et cetera? So I don't want council to feel that if an appeal happens, that that's the end and the OLT will just make a decision without you. You will have the ability to review what's been worked through and before the hearing would happen. We would never just kind of, oh, well, it's appealed, we'll show up on the day. I mean, it just doesn't work like that. We would work really hard to try to resolve as many issues as possible and bring something to you ahead of time, if that helps.
Ms. Gann?
Thank you, Your Worship. I thought I would just chime in, if I may, to elaborate on Denise's answer to Councillor Greenfield. And for good or bad, the scope of the heritage permit matter is quite limited, generally to the aesthetic of the building, those architectural qualities and the impact on the heritage district. The ability to establish the use and, you know, the height of the building, those types of things, were all established through the OLT process upon the original appeal of the official plan amendment and the zoning bylaw amendment. So that has already been set through that process. So before us today is a fairly scoped ask as far as that heritage permit goes. So, and then aside from the heritage permit, as Denise explained at length and very, very well, was that technical review exercise that unfolds as part of the site plan approval process. So the uses and the building, the permission has been established through that policy, through the OLT and the official plan amendment and the zoning bylaw amendment. So I hope that kind of clarifies where we're at today a little bit. So.
And just to clarify where we're at in this meeting, I think we have a motion that we haven't really dealt with at this point. So I wonder if we could get that motion reiterated and let's try and deal with that at this time. Councillor Bartley, you have a thought?
Thank you, Mayor Kettner, and I do appreciate what you're trying to do, but these questions do pertain to what was brought up for the amendment. For instance, I would think if we were just to rightly refuse it, we would have to have reasons why we don't want it and give options what they could change in order to do a refusal. If not, if that isn't correct, then the option of doing a peer review, just like Deputy Mayor Keaveney's brought forward, I would vote for it. But would it, you can just say, no, I don't want it, but you'd have to say why, would you not? In order to refuse it?
You're looking to me, Mr. Mayor, so I'll answer through you. So yes, you would have to have a reason. You set up the framework. So we have policies that applicants are required to adhere to and address issues within the district recommendations for the actual plan itself. So the conservation district plan has recommendations for how development would happen. So it would have to be based on something within the district plan that you want changed, or there has to be reasons that would potentially allow them to go away and come back with something different or a change.
I guess I'm going to ask you this question, if I may, Denise, and that is, if I look at the SkyDev proposal, and the municipality worked closely to try and resolve issues, and what is going to be built is so far different from what was originally proposed. It's very gratifying, and I just wonder. I think we've had an exceptional experience dealing with that developer. I'm not so sure about the developer in this case, but do you have confidence that you could have some progress in going through the backing and forthing if it came to an OLT hearing to have some significant reassessment of the massing and so forth of this building?
So through you, Mr. Chair. So looking at what the types of things we've heard in the meeting, in the last meeting as well, in terms of massing and things of that nature, the zoning already addresses the massing, which is meant to be sort of the setbacks and the height and all of that. They are able to cover a significant amount of the property because it is considered that downtown commercial use. So if you think about all the other downtown buildings, they're at a 0 setback. They don't have to have front yards of greenery necessarily. They don't have backyard amenity areas or anything like that because they're meant to be downtown buildings. And so they've created a development that meets the general requirements of the zoning bylaw. In terms of whether or not there's things about the design that we could improve with feedback, we could work with the developer on improvements if there was feedback that we heard from council or from the Heritage Advisory Committee, et cetera, to take to them. So right now, I don't have any specific feedback about what would be desired, but that's the type of thing that we would want to see that we could take to the developer and give them, and we could come up with solutions to make some improvements if needed. So we've outlined a few of the ones in the recommendation itself, related to landscaping and reduction of any impact of any blank wall look on the opposite side, on the Berry Street side, by improving that facade. If there was other ones that council's thinking about, we would be really happy to take those things down and include those in future discussions with the owner.
Thank you. So do you have something more to say, Deputy Mayor? We'll call your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, and I really appreciate this conversation. And like you, Councillor Greenfield, I've been approached by many people who just don't like anything about this project. But I also had an interesting meeting last week with a young resident of Meaford who had a very different opinion, who said to me that people of his age, look for this type of living where they can potentially own a small unit that's affordable, and that this is the type of environment that allows them to have a place of their own rather than living with their parents potentially, and allows them, to have the freedom to travel and so on. So it was a completely different perspective, which I appreciated, but that was one individual, and the majority of people just don't want this. But I think we have to look at what our options are here. So, and I know this question came up at our last meeting, but I'm going to ask Denise or Amy if we could review it again, just the whole issue of liability. If this does go back to the OLT, then who's on the hook, so to speak, if anything goes wrong? And what is our position in the liability side of things if it goes down that road?
I'm going to try to answer. Amy's probably going to have to help me at some point. So I think, to the Deputy Mayor's question, through you, Mr. Mayor, I would suggest that those are two separate issues. So if this is appealed to the OLT or not, the issue of liability of flooding or things related to the two-zone flood zone area are not tied to the heritage permit at all, because we're only looking at the look of the building. So if this is appealed to the OLT on the basis of the heritage permit, then we would only be looking at what the building looks like above ground. So the liability factor doesn't come into play at all. And in fact, regardless of the heritage permit, the issue of flooding, the issue of a safe building with flood proofing along whatever elevation the GSE has set, I believe it's 180 something, but anyways, is completely separate. And so council has not reviewed the site plan and won't be. And generally speaking, liability falls within the engineer that designs that building. So they're designing a building that they've done their modeling, they've done their calculations, they've done their math, so to speak. And then the GSEA reviews it to make sure it meets their policies, which they're undertaking currently. So council actually doesn't have any role in it, so the liability doesn't sit with council specifically. Less and less, the province is asking us to have peer reviews done of private property. They would like us to not do that anymore and only be doing reviews of things that are infrastructure related that we take over. So I don't know if that answers the question fully. I mean, I would defer to Amy on anything more specific, but the engineers are the ones that are designing and proving to us that it's a good design. So they're telling us it's a good design, and they have their engineer stamp to be able to make that determination.
I'm going to speak to the Deputy Mayor's motion. I think there are two good reasons why we should meet with the peer reviewer should we do that. And the first reason is that our Heritage Committee is very new and needs education. And the second thing is that this council also, I think, would benefit from education on heritage issues, because we're only going to face more of them, not fewer. At least that's my hope. So I'm going to call that motion. All in favor? And that is carried, I believe, unanimously. Can I just double check that? That was unanimous? Thank you.
Sorry to interject, Mayor Kentner, but my understanding is that we were just voting on the amendment.
Sorry, yeah, yeah, this is the amendment. I'm sorry if I didn't clarify that. The amendment to the, so now coming back to the overall motion. And again, I'd like to add my thanks to staff. This is a very, you heard us 2 weeks ago and you've responded very, appropriately in my view. And we appreciate, what you've put before us. And I'm in favor of it. Are you people ready to vote on that? I'm going to call the question. Then this is the actual recommendation, and I'm not going to read it again because it's so long, but all in favor? And that is again carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to our head planner. In the future, when a proponent comes to the municipality of Meaford, the town wants to do something, we were told on this sitting council that when you have a public meeting, it's at the end of the process, that there have been a lot of people involved for a long period of time, all professional. Everyone has been digging in to make a project come together. And then when it comes to council for the public meeting, I have met people who have said, why should I bother going out because it's a done deal? That's what they've said to me. And so now as we go through these things and what you have said today about a proponent heading off to LPAT, and basically they can do an end run around us, and with the desire of the province itself wanting to move projects forward, is there any recommendation that you as a head planner can tell council members that when we get a situation where we're actually at a public meeting looking to make changes, what can we do that we haven't been doing because we end up with a day and days before where it's like the comments which are coming out now are comments which should have been done months ago? Is there anything that you can recommend that we should do as individual councillors to investigate? Because it isn't our purview to meet with the developer. I mean, should we be involved with that? With what you have said, it is our staff, it is your jobs, and we trust that work to be done. I don't want to have to go and dig into it. I think that's myself getting in the weeds, as I've been told before. So is there anything, or do you feel as a head planner that these projects are flowing the way we likely are going to see them in the future? This is just the new set of rules. I've said a lot, but I mean, that I'm really feeling that there is a disconnect. That's what I'm feeling.
So, Mr. Mayor, if you want me to address that, I can. I think it's a great question, and it's an unfortunate position that people, or belief that people have. So to Councillor Bell's point about folks in the public thinking that they're hearing about it at the end, I just want to point out that the public meeting for this proposal, and the proposal which includes the underground parking and all of the real nature of the building that that some people have pointed out that they're not in favor of, was on May 16th, 2022. So it was actually pretty early in the process, but I do get that. I think a lot of people feel like once we get to the public meeting, that it's sort of already decided. It definitely isn't already decided. I would call this a fairly early stage. There was a pre-consultation where some of the aspects had been, fleshed out, some feedback in that through staff, but definitely it was fairly early in the process. And then it was about 18 months later before the OLT decision. So it was quite a bit later. And then they went back and did some design changes. I think I'm happy with them pointing out in the heritage meeting. So the from Cuesta, Genevieve Scott, pointed out that they did make some design changes in response to the public. And it's really good to hear that. So not so much the public, but the Heritage Advisory Committee, maybe in the public as well, but some design changes to the building. So I think what I'm hearing is that we maybe need to do a better job in explaining to folks who are interested when the public meeting takes place in the proposal, which is fairly early on. In fact, it's within a few weeks of us receiving it. So it's not at the end when we've resolved everything and said, oh, are you okay with this now? It really is at the beginning. But if it's one of those things that we can do a better job advertising or communicating to the folks that are interested in participating, then I think we should probably do a little bit more in that regard. And maybe we can add a little bit more to our slide presentations that we do, just to clarify that, so it doesn't look like this is the end of the process.
Just to remind you that in every public meeting that we hold, you get a slide which offers some points, and it's right about here, 2/3 up, it says we are here now. And so the bulk of the decision making goes after that public meeting. I'm not so sure, however, that the public meetings actually, they don't provide for a give and take opportunity between the proponent and the public. And that to me is the missing thing, the thing that is, so I'm sure you have some opinions. Give us our acting CAO and Development Services leader.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for that comment, Councillor Bell. I think it's worth saying that as registered professional planners, Denise and I are here for primarily that public engagement piece. Again, as registered professional planners, our jobs are to reflect and speak to the public interest. And so that public meeting is certainly part of that, but written comments we receive, any feedback we receive in the public, ethically, it's incumbent upon us to make sure that they're considered and hopefully, inputted into the final plan as best as we can. So we're here to support you as professionals in that aspect, regardless of if it's happening in the open public forum or through emails between staff and the public. So those kinds of things, just to provide council with a bit of comfort that that's our primary objective as planners. So
I'm going to call the question. I think we've had lots of time on it, unless somebody has something more to contribute at this point. That is the question of the recommendation from staff. No, right? Oh, we have. Okay, sorry. That's good. Good. That's true. Okay, thank you. So the next one is the recommendation, be it resolved that bylaw 2025-43 being a bylaw to rezone the lands known municipally as 135 William Street to allow a temporary use of co-housing for a period of 3 years be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Can I have a mover and seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Greenfield and seconded by Councillor Bell. Any discussion on this one? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I know we did talk about this before, but there's a bit more detail here in the report on page 7 with regards to the parking. So we know there are 20 parking spaces overall, and the applicant is going to require 5 for vehicles for transporting the workers. So we're down to 15. So I just wanted staff to confirm that they are content with 15 parking spaces for the residents of Golden Town, because probably everybody there does have a car. So that means some of them then will have to park on the street, or will the vans have to park on the street and allow Golden Town priority for the 20 spaces?
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. Thank you for the question. So the vans, from discussing with the applicant, they will be transporting them from the orchard to the property. And then, yes, the other spaces could be used by Golden Town as well, in addition to the spaces that they have on their property.
Mayor, I'm sorry. I'm just not, I'm still just not quite clear. So, so it's kind of a first come, first serve then, if the vans are there and people in Golden Town, because they've been there a long time. So they've kind of got their parking spaces, you know, all sorted out. So if these 5 vans come along and some of those people are displaced, just how are we sort of handling that parking piece to make sure that everybody's happy?
I'm jumping in to help. Thank you, Your Worship. So I think it's important to note that it's my understanding that all those parking spaces are actually on this property. So I'm not sure if they're entitlements to the Golden Town apartment building, but what we understand is that the owner is willing to allow them to still park there because the parking is not on their property now. So if they're continuing to use them, I think what Helena has understood is that the owner is agreeing that the overflow onto their property at the William Street, the 135 can continue. When we reviewed it, the 5 vehicles doesn't seem like a lot of vehicles, knowing that it was a long-term care facility. I would suspect more than 5 cars were there previously for the long-term care facility. So we weren't expecting it to have any impact to have these 5 transient vehicles sort of coming in and out to drop people off. Would be less parking need than what the long-term care facility had previously had, knowing there'd be visitor parking, staff, et cetera. So I think we'll see less use of the parking than what's there now, or what was there when the long-term care facility was there. And it was good to hear that the owner was interested in sharing the parking longer term for the 3 years.
Councillor Yuri?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thank you, Denise, for that, because it's my understanding, having been in the orchard business, these are predominantly the people that are getting to come in to work during the season. Those people normally do not purchase cars in the short time they're here. So that's why the vans are in place, is because they are the transportation. They're not normally, they're here just for a short matter of weeks, so they're not purchasing cars. So unless Golden Town's using it for some other reason, in my understanding, it's predominantly just for the workers. So it really shouldn't be an issue with parking.
Councillor Greenfield?
Thanks, Your Worship, through you to Helena. When the vans bring the workers back in the evening, and of course in the autumn, evening comes fairly early. Do they stay there all night until they take the workers back the next morning, or do they go elsewhere?
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. So that 5 vans per 7 person was just used as a, a maximum number that they may have on the property at one time. But these seasonal workers that will be the ones staying on the property, typically they don't have a driver's license. So the understanding is the van will be coming to pick them up and then leaving. But they may all be parked there at one time to pick them up and for drop-offs. But it's our understanding that they won't be staying the night there, parked overnight.
Any other questions? Ready for the vote? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item C, the recommendation is be it resolved that bylaw 2025-44, being a bylaw to remove a holding H5 symbol from the lands at 1 Legion Road in the municipality of Meaford, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. A mover and a seconder for this. Moved by Councillor Greenfield and seconded by Deputy Mayor Keaveney. This has been a long time coming, but here it is. So, any discussion of this? I think we're ready to vote on this and happy to. So all in favor? That is carried unanimously. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Avron's condo building on Legion Road opposite Legion Park. Item D The recommendation is that Council of the Municipality of Meaford direct staff to initiate the community and stakeholder engagement process as outlined in this staff report to consider the reinstatement of a local business improvement area, BIA, for Meaford. Mover and a seconder for this one. Councillor Bell and Councillor Bartley, thank you. Any discussion on this? Councillor Bell.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I look forward to this coming to fruition. Because I know that we've had a gap in it's through no one's fault. We've just had a gap in that direct impact that good-hearted people who want to make a difference in the downtown core. I do reflect back on the previous BIA when it was truly really working, and I believe it was really working very well. They always had some great ideas tossing around at those meetings, what the BIA could do, very visible things that passersby and even the business folks themselves could see that they had a hand in making some real tangible improvements. And so I do look forward to having this reinstated. I wish our staff all the best as they're engaging with the businesses to reinstate this. And as I've said before, when I was on it, I truly did enjoy it. And you did get to see another form of the heartbeat of the town of Meaford. And they have some great people, and they have some really strong interests in making some changes in the downtown core. And I truly believe that the BIA is a really great vehicle to make that happen. So I'll be voting in favor of this for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Councillor Urick, and then Councillor Greenfield and Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'm also very much in favor and glad to see this is coming back. The only thing I was going to mention was that the first community information session is in September 2025. Not sure when that's going to fall in there, but the next Growing Our Economy committee meeting will also be it's September 17th. And I'm just hoping that there will be an opportunity, as I'm sure probably strengthening our community would also be interested in hearing that before the November one, but just like to have some input into that from that committee as well. So just want to put that on the table. Thank you.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a comment. First of all, I'm glad to see the BIA potentially and hopefully returning to our downtown area and perhaps a considerably bigger area. I like the possibility of that happening. As I was reading through the agenda, and this goes back to the Georgian Bay Harbor situation, I couldn't help but think that if this project that we discussed earlier does go forward, we're talking 100 residential units, all which presumably would have at least one occupant. And if you put that many more people in the urban area of Meaford, this has to be an asset for the BIA members, for the downtown businesses. So as much as I have concerns about the downtown condo proposal, there can be a connection here, and there can be a bigger picture. And so I think there hopefully there will be some good things come from both of these ventures. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I wanted to start by thanking Ms. Kenyon and those who supported her in the preparation of this report. It's really well done, Jessica. Thank you. And this is exciting and needed, and I really hope that the businesses come on board and work together and make a new BIA happen. My question, though, I I understand completely the proposal here of having the two public meetings. But knowing a lot of the people in our business community, I'm wondering if there may be a need for, face-to-face invitations, for getting out and going into the businesses and talking to them about what is going to be happening here at these sessions and really encouraging people to attend. So I know that would be something that would take a considerable amount of time, but I'm just thinking of the uptown and the western side of Meaford who weren't as familiar with the BIA as some of the businesses in the downtown core are, if it might be necessary to, get out and have conversation with those businesses and really encourage them to come out to those sessions. So that would just be my comment in relation to the excellent report that we have in front of us.
Yeah, are we ready to vote on this? All in favor? And again, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. I'm going to suggest that we take a brief recess. We've been sitting for 90 minutes, and that will give some staff a chance to chat some things up, and everybody can come back refreshed for the committee of the whole session. So temporary adjournment. Okay, I'm going to call us back into session and we need a motion to move into committee of the whole. I have a mover and a seconder, Councillor Yurig and Councillor Bartley. Thank you. All in favor? We're doing that at 2:44 p.m. The first item is that Committee of the Whole recommend the Council of the Municipality of Meaford, 1, approve the sale and disposition of municipal land identified as John Street and Block E, Plan 935 of the Municipality of Meaford at the sale price of $13,000 as determined by the appraisal completed by HG appraisers, plus all legal costs to complete the sale and drafting of the agreement of purchase and sale. And 2, authorize the mayor and acting clerk to execute all required documents to complete the sale and transfer of land identified as John Street and Block E, Plan 935 of the Municipality of Meaford. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Greenfield and Deputy Mayor Keaveney, thank you. Discussion on this? Questions? Councillor Yurig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the only question I had was the $13,000 was based on the appraisal completed by HG appraisers. When you actually read through the actual report and documents, there was an awful lot of conversation in there about Stewart and Millhausen's $8,000 appraisal. I'm just wondering where the decision was, how that came about between the 8 and the 13.
Who's going to respond to that?
Thank you, Your Worship. My reading of the report tells me that the HG appraisers did set the $13,000. Perhaps it's an upper limit estimate.
Okay. Councillor Bartley.
Thank you, Mayor Ken. I'm just going to be the devil's advocate here. This chunk of property is big enough to build a house on. And if it was the appraiser wanting to sell it for a lot, I think the appraisal would be a lot different. If that's all they come up with, 13,000, and there is a lot of things to compare it to, I guess we have to take that. I just think it's worth a lot more than that. But I am a butcher, not a baker.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm kind of the same mindset. I mean, looking on page 45 of the different sales analyses that they based the pricing on, everywhere from 28 cents per acre of land up to $6.12 per square foot from the Blue Mountains. So it was hard to figure from that how they arrived at 60 cents per square foot. But again, that's questioning the appraiser, and I'm not a a baker either, but it was just I just found that wasn't very clear as to how they arrived at that particular price.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thanks, Your Worship. We're going to have a little more scrutiny in the future, I think, with this type of property. Although I can remember we sold a piece of unopened road allowance similar to this, would have been a 66-foot without northwest of the urban area, in the rural area, not that long ago. And I think it went for something like $6,000. And again, it was big enough to build a house on. So interesting, back about 20 years ago, when the municipality was facing some funding shortfalls, we considered selling some municipally owned properties. There weren't very many. This one never appeared. But Councillor Bartley is right. You could put a house on this one. So anyway, we've got to be more careful in the future. I'm sure we will.
Councillor Yurig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Agreed all around. It was interesting with the comment about, yeah, you can build a house on it. It's really interesting to me that they said, yeah, it's raw, undevelopable. There's going to be an agreement that there's no title, no building permits will be considered. My question to that is, with good old Bill 185 and the government now saying that we're going to do whatever the heck we want, wherever the heck we want. how much teeth does that really have? I mean, presumably down the road, province can just walk in and go, well, he wants to put something on that and we want density, so off you go.
You have a comment?
Yes, thank you, your worship, and to Councillor Urick. I do understand that this is not a developable parcel on the basis of private services because of the size. My assumption would be that it's actually conveyed to join another parcel so that it's not separately conveyable once again, and that it couldn't contain, you know, another single detached dwelling or something like that. So that's my assumption about the plan.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is a motion in place a while back now, looking for a report regarding disposition of municipal land. So I don't know, Margaret's nodding. Do you happen to know the status of that report? And it might help us deal with these in the future.
Thank you through your worship to the deputy mayor. I know internally we are trying to revise the policy around this, I guess, this type of work. We are close, but not quite there yet. It's certainly recognized as a priority, especially after some of the challenges with the current policy. So it is on the radar and in progress.
Don't see any other questions or comments, so I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. The next item, the recommendation is that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford support issuing a statement of municipal concurrence for the installation of a new telecommunications facility at 065310 Forth Side Road for internet service to the community. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Urick and Councillor Bartley. Any discussion of this item? I think it's all been made pretty clear and the report is there. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. The next item, the recommendation that Committee of the Whole receive report operations 2025-09 wastewater treatment plant update for information purposes. A mover and a seconder, Councillor Bell and Councillor Bartley. And I'm going to jump right in and just thank staff for an excellent and enlightening report. One that we're very pleased with the results. In fact, I haven't got it up right in front of me here, but over from 2016 to 2025, we went from over 80% to about 50%. And that's the kind of information that is really gratifying and puts us in a much stronger position than we felt we were in. And thank you, thank you. Deputy Mayor. Oh, sorry, Councillor Bell.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I was wondering who you were going to choose to move this and second this, because I think that every member of council is, when I read this report and all of us reflecting upon, you know, what we were told we could be looking at for millions of dollars. And again, Mr. Mayor, when you said basically thank you to staff, 100% echo that, because all of the proposals of looking for, you know, what the conditions of pipes were like and what pipes we would reline and what we do at these smoke tests to find out where things are getting into it, and to get the stat that we now have, giving us more than the word, some great elbow room for what is transpiring with the building. I'm just absolutely pleased when I read this report, because I think all of us on council were just worried when we heard the millions and millions of dollars that were going to be required for about 5,500 people to support to do this, to upgrade. It was so out of whack, and this puts us back in a position where we definitely can move forward. But I also want to say, Mr. Mayor, that under the strong mayor powers, one of the powers that has been granted is more of a convenience for yourself to engage with staff on budget. To me, this is almost like a reset button, that when we were faced with that report of how many 113 million, which was already a 3-year-old report, one of the comments that came forward was, well, you should have been looking at this years ago. Well, that's great to say that then about the requirement at that time. But now that we've got this elbow room, I think, Mr. Mayor, when you are engaging with staff, I think we should really take this opportunity now to put something in place that 10 years from now or 15 years from now, like my point is in the future, if we have to receive a report from an engineering firm about what we're going to have to do, we can say that we were long in the tooth and that we made a plan and we started it in the 2026 budget to start things moving forward because we knew what we were facing and we didn't have the dollars to do it. And we were scrambling with, if we have to do this, how much money can the province give us? Where can we seek? We were even thinking of going to AMO and talking about like a lot of municipalities facing huge infrastructure problems. Anyway, to Emily, this was a great report. Love to see it. And I echo the mayor's comments about how staff came up with some alternative, proactive methods to help reduce the impact. So receiving this report for information purposes, am I allowed to do this? So thank you very much.
Councillor Bartley.
Thank you, Mayor Kentner, and I don't want to be the buzzkill here, but I don't think we should take our foot off the gas.
Right.
I think 10 years is not the right number, but with what's happening, we need to be a foot on the gas. I think we still should go to AMO with proposal. Something's going to need done quicker than 10 years. And I understand where this number came from. It has let me sleep better at night, but we can't take our foot off the gas right now. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I really appreciate the comments that have preceded me and very much agree with all of them. I'm looking forward to the allocation policy that the report says we will see in Q4 and understanding the updated depleting ledger and what that looks like and how that applies to the outstanding number of units that we have in various stages of the approval process. And so I suspect with that will come some criteria that will help us to make decisions about which projects should receive allocation at one point in time. So I'll ask for comment on that. And I did have a question. The sewer relining that we're doing, and obviously this is bringing us huge results, and that's fantastic. What's the lifespan of that relining in terms of how long does that kind of hold us over?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Deputy Mayor Shirley. Hopefully half of life of what the pipe would have originally been. So huge, I would say, provided that we're putting it in the right pipes, where we're hoping that consultant is leading us in the right direction with that anyways. So.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thanks, Your Worship. Through you to Emily. Thanks, Emily, for this. And yeah, it's great, great news. But I'm hoping this downward trend will continue. Now, I mean, it does come at a cost, the relining, over $200,000 a year, but compared to 140 million, that's a fairly modest sum. But going back to that 140 million, which was based on some different numbers, some higher numbers, where does that put us with our expansion plans, rebuild plans for the wastewater treatment plant? Could this, if this trend continues, are we going to be looking at perhaps a brand new plan for a future plant? And again, we do have to keep into consideration the amount of development that's coming along. So I guess I'll ask you to look into a crystal ball and tell us that in 3, 4, 5 years, should we still be going with the same plan that we have seen previously, or should we be modifying that somehow?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Greenfield. We're hoping in Q4 to bring you more of a plan. We have our ideas of what we would love to see, however, we are not bakers. But I think we definitely, like Councillor Bartley said, we can't take our foot off the gas. We still need to be planning for something, but I think we have time to put money away. But I still plan to bring something to 2026, 2027 budget.
Okay, are we ready to vote on accepting this report? All in favor? And it's not just unanimous, it's gladimous. Next item here is also good news. And the recommendation is that Committee of the Whole receive Report Library 2025-01 Meaford Public Library Annual Report for 2024 for information purposes. And we welcome Lynn and Kim to the podium. Oh, sorry.
Just a mover and a seconder.
Oh, okay, a mover and a seconder. It's moved by Library Trustee Councillor Greenfield and seconded by Councillor Uri.
Thank you. Through your worship and to all council, thank you for your through your worship and to all council, it's my great pleasure to represent the library board and staff and to talk about our 2024 Meaford Public Library Annual Report. I'm here today with our board chair, Kim Grafton, and also with council member, library board rep, Harley Greenfield, to give you a quick review of the Meaford Public Library's 2024 annual report. The annual report helps to clarify the impact that the Meaford Public Library has had on our community and can help show the connection between the library's vision, mission, and strategy as outlined in the Meaford Public Library Strategic Plan 2022+. The plan supports transparency and open sharing of information and accountability. With my great pleasure, we have Chair Grafton, who will discuss her report on the annual report. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It is with pleasure that I present my report as the board chair, highlighting the library's exceptional year in 2024. Of note is the appointment of Lynn Fascinato as the CEO in June of 2024. And that sort of ended a long term of acting CEO and is a culmination of Lynn's time and efforts at the library. And we were very, very pleased to appoint her in that position. I also wish to thank the leadership and hard work of the dedicated library staff and the members of the Meaford Public Library Board. Through their efforts, they helped maintain the library as an inclusive, inspiring community hub that promotes learning, equity, and partnerships. 2024 saw the library receive a significant financial support from the Friends of the Meaford Public Library, individual donors, the municipality of Meaford Council, the province of Ontario via the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Gaming, and the Ontario Library Service. Collaborations with the municipality of Meaford, various departments, and local partners helped to enrich our programming, including offerings like Bots for Tots, Teen Lounges, and the Elder Law series. 2024 program highlights included the Volunteer Recruitment Fair, which happened in April, and it was in partnership with the municipality's corporate well-being team. The Grand Pals in the library program, September to November, which connected seniors and youth in a joyful educational exchange. And with the Marc Garneau signature author event in October, featuring Canada's first astronaut, which was sponsored by the Friends of the Meaford Library. That was a highlight for me as well to meet Mark, given circumstances. The Friends of the Meaford Library support provided substantial contributions to library equipment, programs, and technology by funding new equipment, book carts, Chromebooks, gaming consoles, and securing a $10,000 anonymous grant for children and youth programs. Alongside the Rotary Club of Meaford, they also continue to support the library's most popular loan item, the high-speed Wi-Fi hotspots. We are extremely fortunate to have an exceptional library team and all our library partners as they enable the Meaford Public Library to continue to engage and connect with our dynamic community. And we look forward to 2025 and our next chapter.
Thank you, Library Board Chair Crafton. Going through the report, page 4 is the library's vision and mission statement. I find it very similar to the corporate mission and vision statements. The MPL mission and vision statements help guide our staff development, customer service policies, programming, collection development, and partnerships to help maintain our library as the important community hub that it is. Next page, revenues. Revenues from 2024 totaled $67,573, with the bulk of revenues coming from the Public Library Ontario grant and donations, and also the Ontario Library Service postage reimbursement, which helps in the interlibrary loan, passing the books through the Post, Canada Post, which can be very expensive because it's a very busy department. The donations line consisted of about $5,000 in private donations, and the remainder, to $24,718, are from donations from the Friends of the Meaford Library for purchases that are reflected in the expense lines of the report. Special events revenue was $5,845, and that was generated from the Mark Arnault fundraising event. Fees and charges line includes things such as lost and damaged items, printing, faxing, scanning, proctoring of exams, and that type of thing. Most of these come in the form of, most of the revenues on that line come in the form of printing, faxing, and scanning. This seems to be a necessity for the community, especially with more people not owning personal computers. It's also a very time-consuming but welcomed service that we do for our community at the front desk. Takes a lot of time, but it's I think it's very important that we do that for our community. Heading off into the expenses from 2024. The expenses totaled $1.13 million for 2024. Expense lines, this is a reflection of those items needed to run the library, from staffing to programming to collection development, staff and board training. The facilities part of these expenses in the report, which totaled $219,748, is not a part of the library budget that the board approves during the budget process, but it is important to reflect that in this report because these expenses are for water, hydro, gas, insurance to help run the facilities, and also for the new library debt. So the facilities maintenance of our building in 2024 totaled $86,447, and the new library debt was $133,312. I must say that the expense lines, to note that on the expense lines, anywhere where it says FOML supported, these reflect items purchased for the library. For example, under advertising, FOML purchased canvas book bags and other personalized swag that we use for outreach and other events to help promote the library. So that's just one example of one of the FOML supported expense lines. The Owen Sound Library contract in 2024 was $152,474. And at last count, last library board meeting, they reported that was for approximately 1,000 municipality of Meaford patrons who are currently using that library. Other expenses was $7,588, or for those not regularly budgeted, so items such as patron membership cards that were purchased in 2024, book cards and more, and Friends of the Meaford Library purchased most of these. And Chair Grafton has, in her report, has mentioned some of the things that the Friends bought for us in 2024. My favorite page, the statistics page, it's a snapshot of the year on one page. Most noteworthy were the total visitors to the library of 77,170. So every year we average around the 80,000 visitor mark. And it's important to note that these visitors usually all come with a point of contact for staff, whether that's being checking out an item or for information request, tech help questions, where's the washroom, anything. So it's that circulation desk is a very busy touch point to those 80,000 visitors a year. It's important to note that the library members saved $1.5 million by using the library. This number is the value of all checked out materials in 2024. This does not include items renewed. So if an item is renewed another time, that's not in this calculation. It's the 1.5 million doesn't include the 733 free programs offered to the public during 2024. All the free room bookings of the 1,651 people who use those 5 very busy meeting rooms in the library. Doesn't include the free computer use and the technology courses that the library staff provided for patrons. The way I look at the 1.5 million as well is that we spend almost 40,000 a year to replace and enhance the collection. And the items checked out having a value of almost 1.6 million. I think that's not a bad return on the $40,000 investment. To the page that has the most circulated items of 2024. This snapshot is of the highest circulations and showcases mostly books and movies. But it's also important to note that the library circulates items such as Chromebooks, Wi-Fi routers, puzzles, magazines, audiobooks, park passes, sporting kits, video games, and let's not forget the library has an open 24/7 e-resource library where folks can easily stream movies, download ebooks, audiobooks, magazines, take courses, learn a new language, and the list goes on. And accessibility is always the forefront of purchased items at the Meaford Public Library. We waited a long time to get our new building, and it's now totally accessible. We're very proud of the fact that it's physically accessible, but we have to make sure that we ensure that our items in the collection have some good accessibility features for all members of the community. So some of these accessible features include a Victor Stratus CD player for the visually impaired, hundreds of large print books, audiobooks, which include audio CDs and also playaways. And if anyone's never taken a playaway out, it's a small, about 2 by 3 inch device that is a pre-recorded book. So all you have to do is put in a battery and add your headphones and away you go. Our active membership chart on page 9 on the in the report shows that we have in 2024 we had 6,448 active members. So the library serves not only the ratepayers of our municipality, but those from Blue Mountains and Grey Highlands, where we have reciprocal cardholder agreements. And we also welcome those from outside, from other areas as well. So with over 73,000 checkouts in 2024, it is a very busy place. Remainder of pages 10 to 12 are the the pillars of service as outlined in our strategic plan. The pillars of library service set out the MPL strategic plan. In the plan are engagement, innovation, and collaboration. The programs, services, training, and equipment purchased and highlighted in these pages are only the highlights from 2024. As noted, we saw 733 free other programs hosted at the library, and each program falls under the umbrella of our library's strategic plan. And it's also important to note that every day the library board and staff serve our users with these important pillars in mind. We are a public library, so collaboration within the community is extremely important. I find that the word public is probably the most important word in the Meaford Public Library. We're here to serve the public. And there are many partnerships with social services, community events, nonprofits like the Rotary Club of Meaford are vitally important to ensure that we ensure the community and we keep that community connection. The page that has the names of our library board and our library staff. We have 7 active library board members. We have 5 full-time, 3 full-time, and 1 seasonal staff. The library board and the library staff are professional, highly dedicated, and always moving forward in order to ensure that our library remains the community hub that it is. And our 2 council reps are our Councillor Forder and Councillor Greenfield. At the very end is my looking forward and looking back statement. I must say I'm honored to be the Meaford Public Library CEO and grateful, very, very grateful for the opportunity to move our library forward based on our community needs, our demographics, our training needs, trends, and so much more. I thank the very supportive library board, the Meaford Council, Friends of the Meaford Library, our library volunteers, the municipal colleagues that I work with and phone quite often for help, and the multitude of community partners, and of course, our active library patrons. We wouldn't be here without our patrons coming and using us. We're very, very proud of each and every person that walks that door. We are a public library, strive to serve the community we represent, and we're also open 7 days a week. I think we're probably the busiest facility. I end this presentation thanking the very dedicated professional library staff who know how to read our community, can pivot services quickly when required. COVID was a perfect test of that. This pivoting has been proven time and time again. They are an amazing library team who will help lead our library into the next chapter. I'm very privileged to work within the municipality and with my dedicated, fantastic staff. So here's to the remainder of 2025. We're almost halfway done. Have a great rest of the summer, and I thank you so much for your listening to us today and learning more about the library. And I also wanted to mention, there is a Tim Cook event. Partnerships are very important. On August the 9th at 7 p.m., we've partnered with the municipal base, and we have historian Tim Cook coming to talk about his book, Allies, and that's at the base at 7 p.m. Tickets are $10. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Nice to see the
Any
numbers going up
questions?
all the time. Questions? Anyone on council have a question for Lynn or Kim? All right. Well, you covered the waterfront, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think we should vote to receive the report. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you again. So at this point, we have reports from committees and local boards, and I'm going to start with Deputy Mayor Keaveney and her report on Grey County Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Grey County Council met last on July the 10th. It began with the usual acceptance of minutes, and then Dr. Ayers spoke to the Board of Health minutes of May the 23rd. His focus was the presentation that he had delivered at the Walkerton Clean Water Center in recognition of the 25th anniversary of the Walkerton tragedy. Regulations have come a very long way since 2000, as we know, and Dr. Era was very proud of speaking that day in Walkerton. He also talked about measles. There have been 53 cases in Grey Bruce, all recovered, and no hospitalizations were required, and many of those cases were unvaccinated. Warden Matrosovs acknowledged the legacy of Murray Betts, who passed on July 4th in his 89th year. Mr. Betts had served in local politics for 31 years in Artemisia Township, 25 of those as Reeve. He was also warden of Grey County in 1975. During Good News and Celebrations, the Grey Agricultural Services located in Markdale was acknowledged for their 25th anniversary. This organization was founded by Ray Robertson, and it's a grassroots approach to providing education, supports, and resources to our local farmers. A delegation was presented by Dr. Sarah Tristancho, a scientist from the Schulich School of Medicine. She and Dr. Don Eby and their team had been tasked with undertaking a study regarding our own SOS services. They conducted 31 interviews, and several of the insights were presented. And some of the things they said were that trust cannot be rushed. It might be as simple as giving someone a pair of socks, and then you go back the next week and you give them another pair of socks until eventually that individual starts to feel comfortable and starts to open up and to talk to the members of the SOS team. Flexibility is essential. Progress starts when people begin to feel safe. Systems have to bend to meet real life while partners improvise together. Grey County is setting a very successful example for other communities. The good news is that opioid poisonings are down 70%, and overdose deaths are also down 75% since the SOS program was initiated. They received funding to expand operations from 4 days a week to 7 days a week until March of 2027, and also $310,000 above and beyond that to purchase a dedicated vehicle for the SOS program. Approval was given to the IT department to draw $42,500 from IT reserves to cover a license fee extension of various software at the nursing homes. The Budget and Finance Committee minutes were discussed. At that meeting, the Grey County audit was presented. Tracy Smith from MNP shared that the materiality for the 2024 audit was $4.8 million, which remained unchanged from their preliminary assessment. There were no significant deficiencies found. No unadjusted differences were made, so it was a clean audit. Tracy also shared that as of December the 31st, 2024, financial assets totaled $139 million for the county, and that included $128 million in cash and investments. Council then went into a closed session. The outcome was a motion which would have staff create a bylaw that would permit the acceptance of a grant from FCM, the federal municipalities, in the amount of $105,000 for the purposes of implementing our climate adaptation plan. And that's it, Mr. Mayor, unless you wanted to add anything.
Oh, thank you very much. Do we have a report from the Ensuring Sustainability Advisory Committee? Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and another disappointing report from myself. Unfortunately, we had our second not enough to form a quorum. And all I can tell you, Mr. Mayor, is that I'm going to have to set up an appointment with CAO Everett. And I think we'll need to contact the folks that are on the committee to get an understanding of their commitment. And after finding that out, we'll determine what we need to do in the future. And unfortunately, at that meeting, we even had a guest speaker lined up to talk to us about another group that's very concerned about the Niagara Escarpment that came all the way up from Guelph. and couldn't hear the report. But he said he wasn't deterred, that if we form again, he would be happy to make the voyage again. And anyway, we've had our second time with not a quorum. And even with my co-chair needing to be excused, even if my co-chair was there, we still wouldn't have had quorum. So we have an issue.
Yeah. Well, not all of these committees work, and we're thankful that the majority by far have. But it is also it maybe isn't like a terribly glamorous portfolio, should I say? And I think that I know that hardly anything gets through our process without some comment about how it contributes to sustainability. But at the same time, it doesn't. I think we have to find some people. Perhaps somebody like Eric Ennis might be a good person to who really understands that word and can perhaps help us. Anyway, I understand it's problematic, and thank you for your efforts. The Growing Our Economy Advisory Committee, Councillor Urick.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the Growing Our Economy Committee met on July 16th and started with a presentation by representatives from the Short-Term Accommodation Advocacy Group. Focusing on the number of STAs in the municipality of Meaford, it sparked a fulsome conversation about the benefits of these properties. With approximately 490 available bedrooms to rent in Meaford compared to the town of the Blue Mountains 3,800, the economic impact is estimated to be 3.5 million spent by STA operators annually on local businesses and $2.6 million spent by STA guests in the community. Committee thanked the group for their efforts and asked to be updated as new information becomes available. There was a discussion regarding creating a comprehensive Meaford business directory. Staff is currently working on this initiative, and the committee recommended working collaboratively with public individuals and groups like the Chamber of Commerce, Meaford Downtown, and the Agricultural Society to capture comprehensive urban and rural databases. Deputy Mayor Keaveney provided an update on the TCE Community Benefit Bylaw and the recent Council TCE Visioning exercise. The committee emphasized the importance of public engagement and consultation in the drafting of a community benefits package. Committee noted the recent Rural Ontario Development Program, which is providing $20 million to help rural communities address barriers to economic growth, attract investment and jobs, and build capacity for sustainable development. Staff advised that they are pursuing funding from this body for our proposed business retention and expansion initiative. Small and medium business liaison staff member Jessica Kenyon discussed Meaford's participation in the 2025 Open Fields event taking place on September 27th. This event is a partnership with the town of the Blue Mountains that showcases local rural businesses such as farms, orchards, wineries, etc., and provides an opportunity for the public to get behind the scenes look at how these operations work. Jessica is currently working on sourcing Meaford businesses to participate. And finally, there was a notice of motion regarding volunteer organizations, and the importance events play in local economic development. This motion will request council allocating budgetary resources to tourism in 2026. Thank you.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor, I'm sorry, I skipped over Pump Storage Advisory Committee. I believe you had a meeting as well. Sure.
Again, Deputy Mayor, yes, we did have a Pump Storage Advisory Committee meeting on the 10th of July. Had some special guests. Mayor Kettner sat in, and our CAO, Mr. Everett, and our new PSAC coordinator position, Ms. Wingrove, joined the meeting out, but Deputy Mayor speak to that in a few minutes. The first thing we examined, well, after the minutes from our last meeting, was the revived terms of reference prepared for us. I want to thank Sue Brown for helping with this, and certainly our CAO, Mr. Everett, played a part in this new version. Very similar to the original terms of reference, but there was some changes in terms, and yeah, I think it did clean it up and expand it on the terms of reference substantially. I think it'll be much more clear and concise going forward in the future. And yeah, as I say, Ms. Wingrove did join us, and I felt quite assured between her and our CAO that there was support for going forward in the future, and dealing with various issues, and certainly interaction with TC. And I'm pleased to announce that this committee, which has 9 members of the public, we've never had problem with quorum in that committee. It seems to be a great deal of interest there. Okay, Deputy Mayor, can you help me?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. And thank you, Harley. I think you've done a really good job of providing oversight of the meeting. You asked me to speak a little bit to Ms. Wingrove, and just in case anyone who's listening isn't aware, Ms. Kim Wingrove recently retired as CAO of Grey County, and she has started a consulting firm called Ravenna Consulting, and she has been engaged now by the municipality of Meaford, funded by TC Energy, to basically be our project manager. So her role will be to work with PSAC, the Pump Storage Advisory Committee, and also to take on communications with TC Energy for the municipality, and primarily, or at least in the near future, to start work on the community benefit agreement. And that'll involve lots and lots of public engagement, as well as engagement with council and with the committees. So we're, as Harley said, really fortunate to have her on board, because as CAO Everett told me one day, from the time that he's been with us, working with all matters related to TC Energy, it was taking up about 60% of his time. So we really needed to get Kim in place so that the CAO can get back to the workings of the municipalities. So we're really, really pleased, and I know that as Ms. Wingrove has a chance to engage with all members of the committee, we all got a message today, and she's going to be spending an hour with each of us next week, and that'll give her some insights as to where we've been and what our thoughts are, and I look forward to the next meeting. Thank you.
Were any other boards meeting in the last 2 weeks? Okay. So I'm ready to have a motion to move out of committee of the whole. Councillor Bell and Councillor Bartley, thank you. We're doing that at 3:32 p.m. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. We're at councillor motions, and we talked about the letter from Savvy requesting exemption for the July 10th event. Can we perhaps bring a motion forward at this time on that? Or what hoops do we have to jump through?
My apologies. I think we're just a tad early. That's actually under item section 13, communications. So motions for decision, there are none. And then motions, notice of motion, if any members of council have notices of motion.
I better ask for, anyone have a notice of motion? Councillor Bartley?
Thank you, Mayor Kentner. And looking at the clerk, is this a time to waive the procedural bylaw so we can bring forward dredging? How do I go about that legally?
Thank you. And through Mayor Kentner to Councillor Bartley, I appreciate the question and the respect for the rules in this. In talking to staff on the break, we were able to determine that probably the best approach, I will let the acting director speak to this, but I think with the timelines, we will probably be able to meet the September 8th timeline. And maybe I will refer this to Jeff to kind of expand on, but I don't know that at this time waiving the procedure bylaw will advance the project in any significant way. So to maintain the regular process is probably the best way at this time for both that and the issue of the fountains and advancing that item as well. So perhaps we can speak to the dredging if you wanted to expand on that and why there isn't really a need to do that at this time.
Thanks, Margaret, and through your worship. Yes, during the break there, I was just going through some calendar dates. If the tender was to go out on the July 31st and go through that review for 3 weeks, it would then close on the 21st. It would give us a couple days to review an award for the and make the timelines for the September 8th meeting. So unfortunately, I think doing that process, but then it also causes another issue with the September 15th for no works in the water after that date. So I think the recommendation by us in that report would be then for 2026 construction or dredging.
Go ahead, Councillor Bartley.
Thanks, Jeff. Basically, I want to know, is it physically possible to have it done? Are you waiting for council to give permission on September 8th? Or can we not give permission now to go ahead? Is it physically possible to have it done or not physically possible because of licensing and whatnot?
To be consistent, through your worship, to be consistent and transparent to our residents and follow our process. Because of the dollar amounts over 200, it's going to be well north of 300,000 to complete the 17,000 meter cubes of dredging that we need to follow this process, which would give us the go-ahead date on September 8th. So the recommendation to try to push this through in such a tight time frame before September 15th. My recommendation is to have everything shovel ready for 2026.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, obviously none of us are, that's not the answer we were hoping for, Jeff. We'll see if I have better luck with this one then, if we can waive the procedural bylaw to talk about the cemetery fountains, recognizing that you've got a single source and a cost of $65,000. We had 15,000 in the budget, so we're 50 shy, and we do have 2 donors that are committed to providing some funds. I don't know to what dollar amount, but above and beyond that, is there a reserve we can pull the remaining amount from to get these fountains underway shortly?
Yeah, through your worship. I think again, our recommendation is to be consistent and transparent through our process and bringing the report back for the September 8th. I do feel that this is a little bit different because we have talked to the contractor and the ability for him to complete the project is still in good standings at that time. So I think that would be our recommendation. I'm the bearer of bad news today.
Go ahead, Margaret.
Thank you, Mayor Kentner. And to expand on that, to the Deputy Mayor's question about sort of expediting the timelines, I think what we will do internally this week is look at the dollar amounts and discuss with finance where that money could come from. And if there is any motion forward that would be faster than that September council meeting, we could call a special meeting to consider that item. And there is no issue with doing that from staff's perspective. And that would be the best course of action should there be any concern or any opportunity. That's what staff would recommend. And we can certainly communicate that back. So it would be relatively soon. We could have a special meeting to ensure that that process isn't delayed. And if it is possible to expedite it quickly, knowing that that's council's wish, we could do that at that time.
Councillor Bartley?
Thank you, Mayor Kentner. Just a question. The original price for the fountains, was that brought forward by a consultant? Or where did that price come from that was so out of whack?
For your worship, I'm not unsure of that, where the price came from.
Councillor Urick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm gonna have to ask this delicately. This is, the dredging in particular is one that's been on our books for the year. We've asked through council inquiries many times. So just wondering, and I know we've had flux with staff and that may very well be a big part of this situation, but we really need to be able to tell people why this hasn't transpired. This is not to throw anyone under the bus, but this is something that really we said was gonna happen in 2025. So why is this not happening in 2025 realistically?
Your worship, I'm not sure if I have a great answer for that, other than the permitting through the DFO did take extended amount of time. I don't have the background knowledge to the whys it did. I think it was just the project was underestimated for a operational project. It should have been moved into a capital project. Not saying that had any bearing on the permit getting, but just for the dollar amount, it should have been moved into a capital project. Like I say, it's not a good answer. I don't have all the background answers of why, but that's just where we are.
Councillor Bartley?
Thank you, Mayor Kentner. One last question, Jeff. The permitting, will it carry over to next year or do we have to reapply?
Through your worship, I've been advised that the permit is good for next year.
And what is the earliest date that the work can start?
After the spawning season.
Yeah, so what is the date of this one?
Not 100%.
You probably know that,
Usually June
Steve.
15th, but
I think it's July, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
July,
yeah.
sorry,
So
July.
why? It's just hard to see that we won't be in the same boat next year. I don't have a lot of confidence that we will be any better off in 26 than we are this year.
Through your worship, I think the thing to look at is like we will have the tender documents all ready to go. It'll go through this year's 2026 budget process as a capital project and be shovel ready. So we can tender this out as soon as budget is passed and at the earliest.
Our problem is we've been too transparent. We told people we would do it this year. And we started that, months and months and months ago. Anyway, I think we have made our points. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not speaking necessarily to these two items, but I know that CAO Everett has been working to sort of take stock on what projects we have in the hopper and what hasn't been completed and what's in work. So senior leadership can certainly continue to work with CAO Everett on getting an understanding of these very items so that we can sort of help with this catch up so that this doesn't happen in the future so that we can sort of get straight here. So hoping that helps.
Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So one of the aspects of the dredging is the scope of the work and the amount of work, and that can depend on the flow of the river, what it is doing in the harbor. It can either deposit more or remove more, and it's really difficult to say the total scope of the work for any contractor going in there. So I'm wondering if there's anything that we have missed from that aspect of saying what the scope is, and from our aspect, it would be budget. So I mean, we can budget a lot of money and maybe they don't use it. But if we don't do enough money, then we get what we had this afternoon as a comment that we were under budgeted. And to me, that's just because they took a look at what was there and how long are they going to be engaged doing it and what are they taking out? And what are they doing with it when they do take it out? So I don't know whether our interim director has any comment on my thoughts about the actual bed of material, because I think that's a really tough one. And was that an element on what has transpired?
Through your worship. I don't have the back details of the full scope of the project. I'm sure that that there was consideration put into that, but I think going forward, bringing it as a full capital project, that we can really drill down on that scope of work and ensure that we're covering all the bases for 2026.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thanks, your worship. I'm not a boater, and I'm not sure how much of a restriction there has been on the harbor this year. I see boats tied up at Richardson Boat Works. I'm assuming they've got there by the water. So I'm not trying to downplay the dredging, but it sounds to me that firstly it was a bigger dollar ticket than what we had estimated, and now we do have time constraints, serious time constraints. So I really think, not that I want to, but perhaps we better regroup and find out how much this is going to cost in the future and make it a priority for the 2026 budget. And as Jeff says, a capital budget amount, not an operations. The harbor is an important part of our municipality, and if we're going to do this, I'd rather be a major undertaking for as early next year as possible than trying to rush through something this year and maybe not be able to get a complete job commitment to it.
Okay, does anybody have anything they want to bring forward as a notice of motion? Like, I'm wondering if we are going to need one to perhaps cover these two issues to make sure that they get properly into the capital budget for next year.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I think those can be covered at budget time. I think staff is fully aware now that those are both priorities for this council, and I'm sure they will make sure that the necessary dollar amounts are in the first portion of the budget framework that we see, because it's become an issue and staff is aware of this, that from our perspective, we approve the money in the budget and then we have an expectation that those projects will be completed. And then there's a disappointment, for the public in particular and for us when things happen and the projects have to get pushed. So I just hope through this budget cycle that we can, as Amy just said, get past that and make sure that whatever goes into this budget is realistic and can be completed in 2026, because we have to stop this cycle of committing funds to something and then the project can't get completed, whether it's not enough money or we can't get the tendered or whatever goes wrong, that we can't get it done. That cycle just has to stop.
I have a question. I don't know if anybody can help me on it, but one of the things that I understand is that we needed to tender this, and the tender was not won by the party that has a crane in the harbor. And my question is, do we get rent for the space that crane takes up, or do we I just don't know what the situation is, but it seems that we perhaps should be tidying up that matter, because it doesn't sound as if the contract is likely going to go to the party that is taking up space in the harbor. So, and I'm not a boater. I don't know a whole lot about all these issues, but I've heard it discussed in the past, and I just wonder if it's something we need to tidy up rather than leave as a loose end along with other things. Don't see anyone with any suggestions at the moment, but perhaps we can maybe ask staff to look into that and see whether there's some action that should be taken here, because I have heard in the public sphere that that's an issue. So, okay, moving on. We have some minutes to adopt. The committee meeting of, the council meeting of July 7th. Be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of Meaford hereby adopt the minutes of the council meetings held on July 7th, 2025, and the closed meeting held on July 7th, 2025. Mover and a seconder, Councillor Greenfield and Deputy Mayor Keaveney. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Is there anything on the communications agenda? And I believe that is where we have the Savvy request. Does anyone wish to move a motion on that? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yeah, I'm delighted that we've reached the time where we can finally talk about Savvy Fest. Because obviously we're all concerned about this, and I thank Councillor Urick for bringing it forward earlier. And I have been provided a recommended motion, which I hope you will second, Councillor Urick. And I think everybody has read the letter as it is in our communications, and we know that we need to kind of tidy this up for the good folks over at Savvy. So the motion is, I move that council grant an exemption from the municipal alcohol policy to permit alcohol service and consumption for the event known as Savvy Fest, scheduled to take place on Saturday, September the 13th, 2025, from 12 p.m. until 6 p.m. on Berry Street. So this is really just a little bit of housekeeping to tidy up. And I believe there will be a new policy coming for us to review, but currently this particular use isn't in our policy as it's written. So we just, if everyone is willing, need to just tidy this up so that Savvy Fest can go forward. So that is my motion.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Urick, thank you. Margaret?
My apologies, Mayor Kentner. So I wonder if we could have some staff comments on this. I believe that was provided earlier today, and I apologize, and I've emailed also to explain that I hadn't had a chance to review some of the content to that until a little bit later in the morning. And I believe that was relating specifically, and I'd have to listen to the wording again, but to the municipal alcohol policy that we have. When I took some time to understand the site and the dynamics of the request, my understanding is that the event is scheduled for Berry Street, not actually, as we initially thought, on municipal property at the back parking lot of Trowbridge. So the back parking lot of Trowbridge is really where that would apply. So we have some alternative wording, which I may suggest if that's okay with council, to sort of update, having done the research. And I apologize, I was off last week. And so this was not something that I had reviewed until slightly later this morning. So this is my apology for that. So I think probably we were working with slightly different wording to reflect that we don't need to waive the municipal alcohol policy. It's a slightly different support that we would offer the organization. Does that make a little bit of sense? Oh, thank you.
Tell us more.
So some suggested wording would be something along the lines of that Council of the Municipality of Meaford has no objection to Savvy Fest to operate on Berry Street on Saturday, September 13th, 2025, subject to the applicant obtaining all applicable approvals and clearances, including insurance requirements and AGCO permitting. So it's slightly different because we don't actually need to waive the policy if they're not interested in using the parking lot, but we certainly want to make sure that the conditions are satisfied for the municipal liability and through the AGCO. Did you want to add anything?
So I
Again,
see
my
some
apologies.
consternation at the back of the room, and I'm wondering, can we ask other staff if this is a problematic, or? I'm just wondering, does this satisfy, our our needs to, because we're trying to, have more events in the downtown. So would this solution work for those of you who are, addressing that problem?
Yes, through the chair. Shirley, I believe this would work just fine. This would restrict the event Savvy Fest to Berry Street. At one point, they had requested the municipal parking lot. However, I don't think it's necessary at this point. So using Berry Street would be fine.
Okay, as long as it is fine.
Then, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I would move the motion as Margaret presented it.
Okay, and is there a seconder? Councillor Urick is seconding. Okay, thank you for your input. Any further discussion? Councillor Greenfield?
Thanks, Your Worship. Just for my personal information, what area of Berry Street are we talking? Are we talking Sykes to Cook, or are we talking a shorter area closer to the Sykes Street corner?
Through the chair, it would be from Sykes Street to the alleyway beside the municipal building. So just the length of the building that Savvy is in.
Any other questions? If you're ready to vote, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, and thank you for your help on that, Margaret. Anything else on the communications list? If not, anything on the correspondence list? And if not, we have come to the end of our agenda, but we will be moving into a closed meeting. Be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of Meaford does now go into a closed session at 3:55 p.m. with the acting clerk and Director of Human Resources / Community Services in attendance to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, open meeting exemption B of Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001, and specifically related to a 3-month probation review. So I will declare our form. Sorry, mover and second. Yes, thank you. It's moved by Councillor Urick, seconded by Councillor Bell. Thank you. We will report out after this closed session, and in the meantime, we're closed. Reporting out on our closed session, only the item mentioned was discussed with direction to staff for next steps. And finally, we have a confirming bylaw to deal with here. Be it resolved that bylaw 2025-45, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Municipality of Meaford at its regular and special meetings held in the month of July 2025, be taken as read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed. All in favor? A motion. Okay, I need a mover and seconder, and it's moved by Councillor Urick, seconded by Councillor Greenfield. All in favor? And that is passed. And that concludes today's meeting.